I'm just recording this so I can write it down later. Okay, so let's talk about theories, conspiracy theories, scientific theories, just the concept of theory. So let's take gravity, for example. Gravity is a theory, right? And so in order to prove whether or not I believe that gravity is true, in other words, objects that have mass and weight will, at least on planet Earth, stay on the ground. And in order to prove that, I could try a simple experiment, which is to say, I could use my own body, which has weight and mass. So I'm like 115 pounds. I'm like 5'2". I'm like probably 1.5 feet across. So I am a weighty object that has mass and, dimensions. So I qualify as an object to show whether or not gravity is real or just a theory. So if I jump up in the air, try as hard as I can, jump up in the air, what's going to happen to me? Well, I'll do it right now. I came straight back down. Not because I'm not a good jumper, but because the law of gravity, not the theory of gravity, the law now stipulates that because I have mass, I must return to the ground. Okay, similarly, if you believe in the theory that the election was stolen, you should attempt some sort of experiment or find proof. And so, for example, you could get the list of all the folks who voted in your area, in your precinct, your district, and you could go door to door and simply ask them. So you go up to Mr. Smith's store, you knock on the door and you say, "Hey, Mr. Smith, just doing an experiment, I'm trying to find out, do some research. Did you vote in the 2020 election?" And Mr. Smith says, "Yes, I did." And you go, "Okay, good," because on the list of all the people who voted, it says that Mr. Smith of 123 Main Street voted. He said yes, that confirms it. No, that does not therefore prove your theory that the election was stolen, at least in that one case. So let's say you go next door to Mr. Smith's neighbor and you talk to Mrs. Jane Doe and you say, "Hello, Mrs. Doe, did you vote in the 2020 election?" She says, "Yes, I did." You look down at your list, you see that Mrs. Jane Doe of 125 Main Street voted. She said she did. Again, you don't have proof that the election was stolen because the voter is saying that she voted. You have it documented in the voting rolls, and therefore, at least those two votes were not stolen. Go to the third neighbor. Go to Mr. Sam Jones's house. "Mr. Jones, did you vote?" "Yes, I did." You look at your list. It says Mr. Jones voted. He lives at 127 Main Street. Yep, everything checks out. Okay, good. So you still don't have any proof. You're doing an experiment right now to prove your theory, right? You don't have any proof that that Mr. Jones, Mrs. Doe, or Mr. Smith, I can't remember my names here, all of them said they voted, and indeed the records show they did vote. Okay, so let's say you go to a fourth door, go to the fourth neighbor, and this is Mrs. Sue Davis. And you say, "Hello, Mrs. Davis, did you vote in the 2020 election?" And she says, "No, I didn't." You look down at your list, and it says she did vote, or someone named Sue Davis of 129 Main Street voted, which is her address. And you ask her again. She says, "No, I didn't vote. I was sick that day. I forgot to get my absentee ballot." But you have proof now that at least her vote was stolen. Okay, so if you can find a bunch more Mrs. Sue Davis, of course this is all hypothetical, I'm just making up these names, then maybe you have proof that at least some of the votes were quote unquote stolen. If, on the other hand, Mrs. Sue Davis says, you ask her if she votes and she says, "Yes, I did," and you look down on your list and it says she didn't vote, or there isn't anyone by that name that's on your list from that precinct, then what? Well, while she may not be telling you the truth, right? She's telling you she did vote, but she didn't. She could be just embarrassed because she missed voting or she didn't do her civic duty or whatever. But there's no harm done because there was not a vote cast in her name on her behalf using her identity. It's just a matter of she's probably telling you a falsehood. But that doesn't mean the election was stolen again because there was not a vote cast in her name. So the only outcome of this experiment that would prove your theory that the election was stolen would be if people said that they didn't vote, and then you look down on your list and it says they did vote. But again, you would have to find many, many, many of these voters, hundreds and thousands and maybe tens of thousands. That's how you would have to prove if the election was quote unquote stolen.